Genesis chapter 30, and we want to read into your hearing verses 1, 2, and then we're going to skip down to verses 22 through 24. Genesis chapter 30, verses 1 and 2, verses 22 and 24. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? Verse 22, And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God had taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. And this evening we just want to talk about Joseph, a type of Christ. And back during those days, if a woman couldn't have a child or couldn't become pregnant, she was kind of like a castaway. People talked about her real bad. And you know the story of Rachel and Leah, how Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, but he ended up with, as pastor would say, cross-eyed Leah. And he hated Leah and he loved Rachel. But what happened is that after the 7 years, Laban gave him Leah, and Leah was able to have child after child. And we often talk about the 12 sons of Jacob, but he also had a daughter by the name of Dinah, and she was molested and raped by a guy later on, and find out that her two biological brothers went out and they wiped out the whole city or the little town because of what that guy had done to their sisters. But Joseph was born in what we call today a dysfunctional family. And dysfunctional means not operating normally. And those are probably the only scriptures we're going to go to, those and probably just one more. Just going to give you a little information today. But a dysfunctional is not operating normally or properly. And a lot of our households today can be considered as a dysfunctional family because we don't have the normal operations, and some of us not operating properly. We allow the kids to do just what they want to do, and no rules are set. And then it's also deviating from the norms of life. Social behavior, in a way, regarded as bad. Some of us, we know about baby children and all this, and they are regarded as bad, but really when you look at it, it's really not all the children's fault, because we as parents, we have a part to do also. Lit Susie and Lit Willie, they out there twerking, and they look so cute twerking and whatever other dances they do. And the first thing we do, boom, we put them in the media. We put them on Facebook. We put them on Instagram, talking about my daughter and my little child. Look at it. This looks so cute. But what are you instilling in that child? Do you know that there are pedophiles out there, and you wonder why somebody is stalking your house? You wonder why somebody is at the bus stop stalking your child? You wonder why somebody is at the school stalking your child? Because you put them out there like that. I'm talking about a 9 or 10-year-old. You got pedophiles out there. And what they're doing, they're waiting for the right opportunity to lurk in, just like a lion killing a deer or something. They're waiting on the right time to make their strike, just like a rattlesnake. just waiting to strike. And then we wonder why. It's because of us. A dysfunctional family is a family in which could have a lot of conflict, brothers and sisters not getting along, husband and wife not getting along, children are watching what's going on with us, and guess what? They begin to adapt to this behavior. They think that this is the norm. They begin to think that this is the right thing to do. Misbehavior. We'll let them go to somebody else's house, jump up and down on their furniture, tear their beds and sofas up because this is what we allow them to do at our house. Dysfunction also has to do with the neglect or the abuse on the part of an individual parents occurring continuously and regularly, leading others members to accommodate such actions. Look at Jacob and his wife. They had favorite sons. And people and the children, they can tell when you're showing partiality or favoritism. I know when we was growing up, if we got a peanut patty, a payday, a Baby Ruth or something, one person would always try to divide the candy between the two of us or how many ever it is. But the person that was dividing the candy always wanted the larger piece of the candy. People can see things when you're doing more for one kid than you're doing for the others, then that becomes a problem. And Joseph was born in a dysfunctional family. His brothers could see that their daddy loved him more than them. And that caused a problem. So many kids today are neglected, they are abused, and both parents may not be to blame. It could be just that one. You know, well, and I might as well put this out here. Jacob had more than one wife. You know, so there were children born to him by several women and then handmaids and all that. And sometimes we call them stepchildren. But I believe like this, if you didn't plant the seed, if you have any chance to sow into a kid's life, whether you be the grandmother, the granddaddy, uncle, auntie, niece, or whatever, sow something in their lives that's going to become productive. And what happened is that when the kids begin to see the actions of mama and daddy and uncles and aunties and grandparents and all this, when they see them doing things out of the norm, guess what? They do it so long, they do it continuously that kids believe that this is okay to do what I'm doing. Mama doing it, daddy doing it, granddaddy doing it, granddaddy before them did it. Dysfunctional families are everywhere. Now, what happened in a dysfunctional family, things begin to deteriorate. And you know, deteriorating, you know what erosion is. That's when the water comes in and wash out the sand and takes over and all that. A lot of our children's lives are deteriorating right before us. You know, because of our actions, because we are not doing the right things in their sight. And when you have a dysfunctional family, it can produce children of incest. They think it's okay to lay down with his sister or the brother. Dysfunctional families can lead to rapists. You know, well, my uncle, he told me, you know, how to do this, and if he did it for 10 years and didn't get caught, guess what? I'll do the same thing. It leads to partiality. I shouldn't love one kid no more than I do the other one. If I give him a dime, then I should give all of them a dime. Don't get Lip Willie 50 Cent because he really from the man that I really love. You know, this man I love, this his baby, so I'm going to do better by him. Children are children. And this is kind of like Jacob was. He wanted a child so bad by Rachel, man. He hated Leah. Then they see stuff going on so bad. Every time the phone rang, tell them I ain't here. Somebody knock at the door, tell them I'm not here. We are liars. And children look at this. Well, Mama used to tell us to say this all the time. Daddy used to tell us to say this. So they think lying is the proper thing to do. But it's not. Then we have human trafficking. You know, pimps and all this. Yeah, man, my great-granddaddy, man, he was empty stimp the women's pimp. Y'all know about him. But we do all this stuff in front of our kids. Do you know that they are just like a computer? They taking in everything you see. They taking in everything you do, causing a dysfunctional family. That's why you have murderers out there. That's why you have rapists out there. That's why you have people out there with, pedophiles and all this, because somewhere in their life they saw somebody doing these things and they thought this was the prosper thing to do. Wife beaters. Man, if you don't beat that woman, she ain't going to stay with you. You know, if you love her, you're going to beat her. Y'all know the story of Roots. Was that Roots? What a woman hit the man in the head with the shoe with that heel mark? I don't know what it was, but anyway, he was beating her. She got tired of it. But sometimes kids see the husband beating on the wife or the wife pouring grits or throwing hot water at the husband. They think this is the norm. They think this is the thing to do. And guess what? As soon as they have a problem, guess what? They're going to pull that high heel shoe out. They're going to boil some water, and they're going to get you. But Proverbs 22:6 tell us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Train means to initiate. It means to instruct fundamentals or principles. What kind of principles are you setting before your children, your grandchildren? What are some fundamental things that you have, instilled into them? Instead of telling them you're going to be just like your old no-good daddy, tell them you are better than this. You can become whatever or whomever you want to become today. Instill some positive things in them. What signals are you giving your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your churchmen? What kind of signals are you sending out today? It also means to discipline them in a systematic way, training them to become subjection to authority. A lot of times we train our kids, but it's not the way that they should go. It's the way we want them to go. Hey, boy, go in there and get me one of them cold ones out the refrigerator. We are training up our kids the wrong way, but we need to instill some spiritual values in them, because what the world is doing, the world is giving them all that they need to see, and it's too much. And we are not helping. We need to instill some morals in them by instructions. A lot of times we want to say, well, she's just a child. A lot of times we put more emphasis on them being a cheerleader. No reflect on you, Coach Jeremiah, a basketball player, a football player. Oh, we'll wholeheartedly, we'll support that. If it's storming and lightning, if it's raining, if it's snowing, if fish falling out the sky and they free, guess what? We'll be there for that. But when it comes to the spiritual things, what are we instilling in them? If at age 2 they can sing, and I don't know none of them songs, because I quit listening to them a long time ago. But if they can sing Billie Jean at the age of 2, they ought to be able to sing Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, he just 2 years old, baby. He don't understand. If he can understand that stove is hot, he can understand that the refrigerator is cold. But we're training up our kids the way we want them to go. Oh, child, he going to be the next Elvis Presley. Now, I know something about him. He going to be the next B.B. King. Listen at him play how he play that thing. He going to be the next Teddy Pendergrass. Oh, he got a voice just like Barry White. But you are instilling them to do the wrong things. We need to put the fear of God in our children. And instead of us training up our children today, the role has been reversed. The children are training us up. They telling us at the age of 3 what they are going to do and what they are not going to do. When I was in juvenile services, one of the worst phone calls I ever got was a young lady on the phone, because my name was out there big time, helping people and all this, that, and other, counseling with people. So she said, "Are you Mr. Anderson?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." "Well, I have this 2-year-old kid, and I just don't know what to do with him." My first thought was to tell her I had to be professional. Beat his, yeah. But you have to be professional. But you can't control a 2-year-old kid and you the mama. Something wrong with that picture. Our children are dictating to us what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. It ought not to be that way. They used to tell us all the time, y'all better be home before that sun go down. That Pastor Anderson in Chester, we used to walk down the railroad track, I used to tell them, "Boy, y'all come on here, come on here." And they just back there laughing and grinning like it wasn't nothing to them. But I was trying to make it home before the sun went down. But to them, it didn't really seem to matter. You see that light on that pole? Before that light come on, you better be in this house. I tried to obey that because I didn't like the rod of correction. And I think that's what's wrong with a lot of our kids today. "Oh, she's just so cute, I can't spank her. Oh, he's so handsome, look at him. I can't put this belt on him." Tell you what, the tides will soon turn. You give them everything they want in this life. When they get old enough, if they're not able to get it, guess what? That's where you have the armed robberies coming in. That's where you have the grandchildren going in, beating up the grandmama, taking the only money they got. That's where you have husbands beating wives, taking the money that they got, because they got too much without working for it. We work for what we want. I used to pick pecans, Pastor Anderson. We worked hard. And like you say, we were so poor, we just had the P.O. We didn't know we was poor. But in the midst of it all, our parents instilled values in us. Yes, my daddy had a drinking problem, but he was a good provider. He never beat my mother, nothing like this. I saw how he lived, and guess what? I did some of the things he did. Yeah, I became a functioning alcoholic/drug addict, and nobody knew anything about it. I started in junior high school smoking weed. Didn't nobody know anything about it. And then I graduated to bigger things, to whereas been there, done that, I'll just leave it like that. But God. One Friday night, but God. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. We need to learn how to dedicate our children to more than just sports. We need to have them dedicated here on Sunday mornings, on Wednesday nights. Oh yeah, we don't give them the option when it comes to going to school Monday through Friday. Oh, y'all go to bed early. Now, you know y'all got to get up early for school. But when it comes to Sunday morning, we let them lay there. Oh, child, he been in school. He worked so hard this week. I'm just going to let him rest. That's the wrong thing to do. We need to get those children up. It shouldn't be an option if they're living in your house, whether or not they going to church on Wednesday nights or whether they coming to church on Sunday mornings or other church functions. It need to be, hey, you in my house. 5 minutes, I ain't even got to Joseph yet. But you in my house, and you're going to abide by my rules. You're not going to be coming to my house at 2 o'clock in the morning, waking everybody up. But we have allowed our children to cater to us what they going to do. But you must know who you are and whose you are. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had a good example of this. We don't see anywhere that those young men's parents was with them, but they knew who God was. They knew who they belonged to. That's why they told the old king, it's okay if you put us in that fiery furnace. It's okay. You know, if we burn up, it's okay. But we have the assurance that the God that we serve, he's able. And if he deliver us, it's all right. And if he don't deliver us, guess what? It's still all right. In the midst of whatever your situation is, you need to realize that God is able to deliver you. If he do, it's all right. And if he don't, guess what? It's still all right. Keep trusting God. And then Daniel knew who he was. He kept on praying. He knew what the decree said. But he knew that in the midst of it all, that the God that he served, the same God that was in Babylon was the same God that was in Israel, the same God that's in Benton, he's the same God in Bossier City, he's the same God in Shreveport, he's the same God, he never changes. And if he did it once, guess what? He'll do it again. A dysfunctional family. He did not allow the circumstances to keep him from getting promotion. And I must say this, and it don't look like I'm going to get to the types, but it's about 20 or 25 of them I had written out here. But we were what you call the black sheep of the family. Naomi children, no, they ain't going nowhere. They ain't going to never do nothing. Yeah, but guess what? God has blessed Naomi children. We have more now than we ever had. We can do now things that we dreamed impossible to do. We can do them now because we had values instilled in us. We had good ethics instilled in us. We had Christian parents that gave us examples. But here Joseph was. He was born in a dysfunctional family. But guess what? Joseph did not allow that to keep him from succeeding. You don't have to become a product of your environment. If everybody in your house is drinking, you get in your little corner and read your Bible, and maybe that would affect them. You don't have to be a product of your neighborhood. Dysfunctional families. Can you see a 2-year-old baby that can't talk hardly, barely can walk, walking around with earrings in his ear, dressed in red, tattooed up already, bona fide gang member at age 2? Something is wrong with that picture. We training them the way we want them to be. We training them into what we want them to become. And then as soon as the po-po arrest him, you want to know why he picking on my child? Look what you instilled in him. It's all about the iron. It's all about the rod. You know, you got that rod, you got power. At 2 years old, a gang member don't even know his ABCs yet. A dysfunctional family. Joseph was born in this type of atmosphere. Can I get about an hour past? No, But we're talking about dysfunctional families. Our children are not subject to authority. They want to do what they want to do. They want to tell the police officer, you ain't taking me to jail. They want to resist and all this, but my time is out and I'm going to have to come back again and deal with Joseph. But he came from a dysfunctional family. And you can look at David. David wasn't the best father. When he committed adultery with Bathsheba, he created a dysfunctional family. When he had Uriah killed, the prophet came to him and said, now, the sword ain't going to never leave your house, David. You're going to have trouble in your household. And sometimes the reason why we have trouble in our household is because of all the secrets that we got. You know, I'm going to hide this from her. She'll never find out. I'm going to hide this from him. He'll never find out. But I'm here to tell you today that whatever is done in the dark is going to come to the light one day. I'm have to be obedient here. But the final analysis of it all, Isaac carried a piece of wood. He was a type of Christ for the sacrifice. Jesus carried a piece of wood, which was an old rugged cross. And he carried that cross all the way to Calvary. And on Calvary, they nailed his hands. They nailed his feet. They crucified him. They placed him in Joseph's brand new tomb, where never a man had laid. But 72 hours later, Jesus got up out of the grave with all power of heaven and earth in his hand. And that same Jesus is coming back in like manner one day. The same one that raised Lazarus from the dead. The same one that cured the woman with the issue of blood. The same one that fed the hungry multitudes. The same one that healed the lepers and all this. He's coming back one day. And my question is, will you be ready to go back with him when he comes? And in closing, not really closing, but my time is up. If you come from a dysfunctional family, if things are not right in your family, don't let that dictate to you where you can be tomorrow. Today you may be in the ditch. Tomorrow you could be on the mountaintop. But continue to trust God in whatever situation you may be in.
Amen. That was a